Hi, welcome to multilinguals.com. Today we will discuss pronombres personales. In English, that is personal pronouns. So, what is a personal pronoun? For us to be able to understand Spanish, first we might need to refresh some contents in your own language, which is English. So, let's see some concepts, some words that we use in grammar to understand what we use in Spanish then. So, for example, if you have this phrase, John writes on his notebook. So, what is the action, or what would you say is the verb here of this phrase? John writes on his notebook. So, the verb would be writes. That is the action, right? Okay, so we can say that writes is the verb, the main verb of this phrase. Sometimes phrases can have more than one verb. In this case, it just has one. So writes is the main verb. So who is the subject? To know who the subject is, we need to ask ourselves who does the action. So who writes on his notebook? John. John writes on his notebook. So we can say that John is the subject. So when we have a subject of a phrase, of a sentence, then we can replace that subject by a personal pronoun. So the personal pronoun that replaces John would be he. He is a personal pronoun. So let's do that in Spanish now. For example, we can say, Emanuel escribe en su cuaderno. Emmanuel writes on his notebook. Emanuel escribe en su cuaderno. ¿Cuál es el verbo? Which is the verb? Escribe. Escribe is the verb, right? So, escribe es el verbo principal. This is the main verb, the principal verb. Escribe es el verbo principal. ¿Quién escribe? Who does the action? ¿Quién escribe? Emmanuel. Emmanuel is the subject of the phrase, Emmanuel. But as we did in English, I can also replace the name of the person or the subject altogether. I can replace it by a pronoun, a personal pronoun. So in Spanish, that would be él. Él escribe en su cuaderno. Él means he. Él is a personal pronoun. In Spanish, we say pronombre personal. Pay attention that we change it backwards. We do not say personal pronoun, we say pronoun personal, right? Pronombre personal. So this is the chart with the personal pronouns. So this is the chart of the personal pronouns in Spanish. As you see here in the last column on the right, we have the English equivalent, okay? So in Spanish, that will be pronombres personales, and these are the words that can replace the subject in a phrase. So we have divided them by singular, which is singular, and then plural, which is plural. Then we've divided them by the person. First person, primera persona, second person, segunda persona, third person, tercera persona. So let's start. In singular, the first person corresponding to I, that would be yo or yo. The pronunciation yo is for Argentina, Uruguay, some other countries, whereas yo is the most accepted one. So you can hear me say yo and yo. Sometimes I'm going to switch. Then you have the second person in the singular form, which is tú or vos. Tú is for most countries, and vos is for Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, and etc. Some other countries too, okay? So it means the same, and that means you. We use tú and vos when we're addressing you informally, when we know you, when we have some trust in you. So nowadays, mostly people prefer to be addressed as tú or vos, but there are some areas, some countries, or some areas within a country that they still prefer to be addressed as usted to be shown respect. So that's going to change according to where you are, but generally, as a foreigner, nobody's going to have an issue if you address them as tú or vos, right? But for example, if you're dealing with authorities like the police, you should call them usted instead of tú. So the third person singular will be él for he. And here you have to pay attention because the word él has a tilde, has an accent mark on top of the e. So that means he. If you omit this mark, this accent mark, what you would be saying is the, such as in the car, which is different, right? So you want to say, you want to write L with a tilde. Then we have ella or ella, that means she. And then we have usted. Usted means you if you're addressing somebody formally. Usted. Now let's go to the plural. So the first person of the plural would be nosotros or nosotras. The first one, nosotros, is for male. So if we are all male in a group, we're going to use nosotros. Also, if the group is formed by males and females, we're going to say nosotros. Otherwise, if it's only females, we're going to say nosotras. And that means we. Nosotros, nosotras. The second person would be ustedes, which means you guys. The third person would be ellos or ellas or ellos, ellas. So ellos is for males only or a group formed by males and females. And ellas is only for females. So let's repeat together all of the personal pronouns. Yo, tú, vos, él, ella, usted, nosotros, nosotras, ustedes, ellos, ellas. Remember these ones and try to memorize them because we're going to use these ones a lot and you need them. You need to understand how they work in phrases. So, what is the difference with the pronouns in English and in Spanish?